50% overall from the field, but he was also 50% from threes. He's 5 to 10.
I know you're out there. It's okay. Stand back there.
No, more than likely, you're going to get that number 1 seed. And so I want Houston to be ranked at number 1 and 8.
Good evening, good night, all those great things. Cougar fans, how you doing out there? Welcome to another edition of Let's Rage Coogs, presented by the Saxenian Family. I'm Kris, Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Joining me is Dunlap. Sir?
What's up, Ravi?
Aqib, Gazi, how are you, sir?
I'm doing terrific. I'm doing great.
And why are you doing terrific? Aqib, why? Tell us why you're doing
terrific.
Because
we're moving on to the Sweet 16 for the 4th time in four tournaments.
Dan, how about you, man? What say you? Let's talk about the 81-64 win by the Cougs over Auburn in Auburn territory.
Man, what a performance in that second half. They played with a high level of intensity defensively, really just locked down everything that Auburn was getting. They weren't able to penetrate and get inside. And how about T. Mark, man? I've been talking about him all year and a breakout game at this time. In one of my group chats, somebody said he T. March. And I like that. I like T. March because he came up big last time he played in March, and he came up big today. And so it was great to see. He didn't settle for the three. He drove inside, got to his mid-range, and that's what makes Sampson great. If you're a guard and you want to come to Houston and you start cooking, Coach Sampson go ISO you every time, drop 4 and let's cook, let's work. And he went to work, man. So great job by Sampson, recognizing who's hot, giving the players in their spots. And I'm so happy for Jamar Mark because I know he had that in him. He just been playing within the role, within the offense, and Coach Sampson been challenging him to do all the little things, in which he did that today with rebounding and defending. Now he just got loose offensively and just kind of showed the world what he's capable of.
Exactly. We touched on it Thursday. We wanted him to get to the line. Check. 8 for 9 from the free throw line. 8 for 8 in the second half. 20 of his career high 26 points came in the second half. He was 6 for 9 from the floor in the second half. He carried the team when Marcus Sasser and Jamal Shead went to the bench with 4 fouls. The Cougs stretched the lead. It was a 3-point lead when they got in foul trouble with those 4 fouls, headed to the bench. T. March said, it's okay. So it was a great win for the Cougs on to Kansas City. And if anybody's wondering, where's Andy? Where is Andy? I guess we could say it's not a secret. He had to leave pretty much immediately after the game because he is flying back with the man himself, Mattress Mac. So we're going to be giving you the show tonight on Let's Rage Cougs. Andy may try to join us via audio if he can at some point in the next hour, but it's going to be me, Dayon, and Aqib talking about this great Houston victory. And it was a road win. Aqib, you said it in the previous Let's Rage Cougs show that Cougs are still undefeated on the road. Right, sir?
They are. They still are. And, hey, in the second half, that ended up being a home game. I'm telling you that. The way it sounded like at least on my TV screen, it was loud and it was in favor of Houston. So I'm so proud of this team and the amazing work that Coach Sampson and his coaching staff has done.
And it was great because the first half, we'll talk about that in a second, but one good thing about being on quote unquote the road team is once you get the momentum going, that crowd is like, they're just silent. What can they say? They're like, I can't believe this is happening. Well, y'all saw it firsthand. Y'all saw that butt whipping the Cougs put on there in the second half. So let's talk about the overall, 12 block shots? Just just swatting everything left and right.
Left and right.
It was just great to see. It was a lot of weak side block shots. They were just coming over. Down. We touched on this a few times. You mentioned a lot this season. One issue that the Cougs have had trouble with is keeping guards out of the paint. And the first half, Auburn just carved up the Cougs like 22 paint points. It was just, it was anti-Houston defense in that first half. I would love the Coach Sampson said to the guys at halftime. We can guess. I'm sure it had a lot of choice words challenging the youngsters' intestinal fortitude, whatever phrase cliche you want to use, but they came out much more aggressive in the second half and they played Cougar defense. There was some fouls. That's okay because they're being aggressive. Yeah. But just what did Auburn? Auburn made like 4 buckets in the second half, something like that.
Yeah, they struggled. You could tell.
4 for 24 in the second half. 4 for 24 in the second half from the floor, man.
And 0 for 5 from 3. They couldn't buy it. They couldn't buy a bucket.
They couldn't make free throws. They couldn't make twos. Coogs said, "Thank you very much," and then Tremont Mark took over. But Dan, you got it, man. What do you want to talk about?
We could go with the block shots in the defense because I think that's what turned the game. I think with the way they picked up the intensity, started with they first threw the ball in, the way Jamal guarded Green and he pressed them, and you could tell the defensive and the focus on the defense really went up to another level, and they were really swarming and not allowing any easy looks because, like you just said, it was a lot of easy looks that able to drive. In the first half and in the second half, that's what turned the tide on the defense. And I mean, all the young guys really stepped up, and especially in the absence, although they didn't really score, they were able to defend and keep the ball in front of them to keep the momentum and allow Tremont and the defense to do what they did in the second half. But Jarris, man, he looked different out there. I mean, I loved his aggression. I love everything he played with, from rebounding to block shots. A couple of his block shots was on ball. He was guarding the ball and got beat, but he had the athleticism to block the shot. And so I love the game that he played today. I still think he could have got more touches, a bit more aggressive, and had a bigger impact on the game. But he was stellar today. J1 was a monster. He had 5 blocks, so he was swatting everything. And so the defense was there. I love how Jamal pick and chooses his spots when to be aggressive. He got timely buckets. But Marcus, man, he was spectacular, especially early in the second half and then stretches in the first half. And so it was good to see him be able to play the entire game. But he made some big momentum plays to get Houston back in the game and then tie the game. And so he was just as impactful as Tremont, and Tremont kind of picked up that torch and carried it out of the game. But Marcus, he was the All-American. He was the piece that we needed today, especially offensively, especially creating for himself, being able to beat the defense with that step-back jumper. Man, it was a beautiful display to see our guards really play like they did today. It was really the whole team.
And Aqib, I want to get your thoughts on this. It's, to me, the Cougs were down 10 at halftime, not playing Coug basketball. But those first 4 minutes of the second half, they got after it. They played Coug basketball on the boards defensively. Marcus Sasser hitting those step back shots, and before you know it, they were down 2. And I kind of sensed it was just a matter of time. Just a matter of time. Yeah. What do you think about it in the second half?
I actually thought at halftime we were good. I'm not like I wasn't worried. I wasn't worried, and even if we had lost, I would have thought we're going to put up a fight second half anyways. Because the first half they were 4 for 10 or 5 for 11 from the 3, and we said this last show that this is not a good 3-point shooting team, and this is not a good free throw shooting team. And they were still 4 for 10 from the free throw line. So I thought, okay, even if we send them to the free throw line, they're gonna miss some easy ones. But it really came down to, of course, like what Dayon had mentioned, was that defense. And then Sasser he was cooking that first half. I know Tremont, he took over in the second half most of that second half, but Sasser's really, like, offensively, he just sparked a fire.
He could have went for 30. He didn't get in foul trouble. He would have had one of those spectacular type games. He didn't get in foul trouble, but he could have went for 30. But then this is a good point that it kept kind of Auburn in the game, was the way the refs called the game and so many fouls. Auburn missed so many free throws, so they kind of shot themselves out of the game. But early on in that second half, when Houston got in the bonus, I think it was around 9 minutes, it was still kind of close, and that kind of kept them in the game. And so one thing I will say is at least they were consistent. Houston got some of those same fouls and was able to go to the free throw line and make it. And so at least they were consistent. But Houston definitely has to stop fouling. But I don't mind it. I don't mind it because Auburn missed. But at the same time, we can't foul like that, man. That's something we cannot do. It hurt us against Villanova when we couldn't make shots. This time we got players who could actually get buckets.
Yeah, guys, we shot 18 for 18 from the free throw line in the second half.
Yes, sir.
And that, I mean, to me, I don't know about y'all, this was probably, at least as far as halves go, this is probably the best half, at least in recent memory, for Houston Cougars. This is just my opinion when it comes to, like, the intensity, the stakes. So I mean, we had great moments, of course, in previous tournaments, but in terms of domination, they dominated in this second half.
Yeah, the Cougs, I mean, the second half, It was 30 fouls called in the second half, 17 on the Cougs, 13 on Auburn. Auburn fans, y'all can cry if you want to, but your team missed 17 free throws. So y'all went to the line. You missed 17 free throws. Y'all lost by 17. So, I mean, sorry, not sorry. But it was just, Andy has touched on this a few times in previous LRCs. The Cougs, it was just like they flipped the switch. I mean, it really was like second half. I don't know if they were just, we got to play better. We got to play our kind of basketball. You know, that first half was not us. And then they went to work. Went to work offensively, crashed the boards, made free throws, which is so unlike previous Houston teams. This team is just different. We touched on all three of us, Andy, and four of us as well on Thursday's show. We believe this team would find a way to win today. Mm-hmm. None of us picked Houston to lose today. Correct?
Correct.
So we believe in this team. We believe in these players. We believe in this coaching staff, in spite of Coach Sampson saying it's a road game, because we know what he did to the players. All those fans are going to be cheering against y'all. It's going to be us against everybody. Let's use that to our advantage. We're undefeated on the road. Well, they're still undefeated on the road. Mission accomplished. On to Kansas City. Real quick, since Andy hopped on the plane, so I don't believe I'll have any post-game locker room comments on this live edition of Let's Rage Cougs. I'm sure he'll, if he can, squeeze it in on Possum and Jamma on the YouTube channel. But we're going to thank Hoop and Holler, Star Pizza, and BB's. Thank you to Hoop and Holler, the Houston Micro Collective. Hoop and Holler is the entity behind the Star Pizza commercials, such as with Ryan Elvin, DeAnthony Jones, and have also done an NIL deal with Houston women's basketball player Layla Blair. Pizza, with 3 different locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to shop for pizza. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, where you can check out the online menu and order online to just stop and pick up your pizza. Star Pizza, Houston's best pizza since 1976. And BB's, Tex Orleans, is a Cajun New Orleans-themed restaurant with a unique Texas twist. Featuring selections inspired by Cajun food, BB's cuisine is what they like to call Tex Orleans. Visit them online at bbstexorleans.com. Well, real quickly, just talk about the other 2 number 1 seeds. Oh, no. Let's hold that for a second. Dayon, Aqib, y'all know, followers on the show, Chuck, The Real, Me and Only Me, Loyal, T.I., loyal supporters, watchers of Let's Rage Cougs. Y'all know I have a tendency to be petty when it comes to Memphis. Oh, Memphis fans. My man Memphis. What was his name last Sunday? What was his name? Memphis. What was it? Memphis Grid, something like that?
Yeah, I forgot about that guy.
Oh, my man. Where are y'all now? What y'all going to be doing next Friday? I know one thing I'm going to be doing.
They're going to be watching us.
Watching the Cougs play basketball in Sweet 16. I know that much. But I digress. I don't want to be petty. But, Aqib, your thoughts on Tremont Mark, this version of Tremont Mark, as being a key to them continuing this run in the tournament?
Yeah, we said it last show that Tremont Mark has this capability of taking over. It was a matter of we have 3-4 other guys we can always go to. So he just maybe didn't get this shine, this consistency. And we mentioned this time and time again, every show, that Tremont Mark, when it comes to that mid-range pull-up, it's money. And today, he showed exactly why, Houston goes to him in those situations, why he can get buckets like that. He's usually, especially since Auburn's guard was smaller than him, he was literally just shooting over. And then, if he gets a big switched on him, he'll step back, fade away. Big's too slow. So it was just a perfect storm, mismatches everywhere. And that was just a credit also to Coach Sampson for just giving him the ball. I think he had scored in 3 or 4 possessions in a row, if I'm not even mistaken. And then he was going to the line constantly. So that was just, they said, I think it's his career high, 26 points. Mm-hmm. And he can have games like that. He can have more games like that. It's just, you got Shed, you got Sasser, you got Jarris Walker, you got J1 Roberts. So many guys that can hoop, give you buckets. So it was just a matter of time before he had a game like this.
And Dan, you touched on he was efficient. Just go ahead, talk about that.
Yeah, he was definitely efficient, and I think it started with he decided not to shoot that three in the corner, and he drove it, and that's what got him in the rhythm. He seen the ball go through the hoop, and I'm sure Coach Sampson tell him keep driving instead of settling for the three. And I think it's just a master coaching job for Coach Sampson, because I don't want to say he kind of put cuffs on him, but he made him star in his role with, like you guys just said, we have so many different options. And so he's not the number one option, but his role is to play tough defense and rebound and spread the floor and knock down shots. And then at times when, another thing for Coach Sampson, you got to give him credit, all the times throughout the season when he get those freshmen experience, it played a factor tonight, because we always talk about anything could happen in a game where it could be foul trouble and Jamal and Marcus could be out. We always mention that. And tonight was the game where they were actually out, and more credit to Tremont because he has that ability to hand the ball and make decisions and play make as well as score. So he really showed his full arsenal. I mean, he defended at a high level. He rebounded at a high level. He scored at a high level, and he still controlled the tempo of the game, in which goes back to, we got to give more credit to Jamal, because he did a great job of that. When the game kind of was getting out of hand, he would make that his mid-range jumper, settled down a little bit, got into the paint, made a couple of plays, and found players. And so, and then on the defensive end, he the one jump started us in the second half to build on the momentum and change the momentum. But Tremont, man, he had a tremendous game. We need him to continue to be more aggressive. I mean, he can still get these shots, and I think Jamal is a pass-first point guard and will defer to Marcus and Tremont or whomever is hot. And so I think it really is on Tremont to be more aggressive and smart in his shot selection, not settle for as many threes unless they're wide open and then you take them. You don't pass them up. But at the same time, sometimes you can break down the defense and get inside and get to your mid-range or get inside, get to the free throw line or whatever the case may be. But he definitely has to be more aggressive and not be so passive. But Coach Sampson be on him because he don't want him to take some bad shots, because he knows what he's capable of, just like we do.
Yeah, I don't want the rest of however far the Cougs go in this tournament. We hope they go all the way. I don't want another game where Jamal takes 0 free throws.
Yeah,
he just that hurts the team. That's a lack of aggression on his part. Don't settle for the three. Attack, get the paint, get to the bucket, get to the rim. Today was an anti-mark game in this sense. He had 0 assists because he was being aggressive. He looked to score. He was the option. It was needed today. It may be needed on Friday, but he's got to have games where he goes to the free throw line. 0 attempts, to me, this indicates he's not being aggressive. And that hurts the Cougs right there. Yeah. But you touched on it. Juan had 5 block shots. I think Jarris had 6, a new Cougar tournament record, which kind of surprised me many times as a King played. But 6 block shots. At some point, did y'all get a sense that Auburn was like, they're everywhere? How are we going to score? What do you think about that? The Cougs were swarming. Auburn was at one point, like 2 for 20 from the floor in the second half?
Especially with the way that they were guarded. When they blitzed the pick and roll, they couldn't get anything. And then when they switched, Jarris' ability to switch it guard to guard and then recover and block the shot. So it's literally like, dang, no matter what they do, we can't execute. And then some of that stuff they got in the first half was just kind of, I don't want to say fluky. It wasn't Houston basketball in regards to being in the right spot and helping and just being on one accord like they normally were and like they were in the second half. And so, I mean, you definitely on with that one.
It was the threes. Yeah, it was the threes at the first half that I thought some of them were outrageous. They just kind of threw it up. Deep. Yep. By Green too. And I think that's what kind of told me that in the first half, like, okay, as long as we play our game, we offensive rebound, we get to the free throw line, we get stops, we'll be fine. And we showed like just how, I guess, just how diverse this team is too, that we can win in so many, how deep we are. We can win in so many ways. We were able to sit Marcus and Shed for an extended period of time. And we had guys extend the lead. And extend the lead. And I even thought at one point we didn't even need to bring Marcus back just because we had a 10-point lead and, injuries can happen. But I think he had a deep three.
He had a dagger three.
A dagger three in the corner. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to touch on one quick point. Deon, you mentioned that first shot in the second half that Tremont Mark, that it was all because he didn't settle for the three and he went baseline and he had an easy bucket. And I was thinking the whole time, Tremont can do that almost every play.
Every time.
And because he can go left, he can go right. Obviously, he goes left predominantly, and he really took care of the basketball as well, not just his shooting.
And Auburn didn't have any shot blockers. Unlike us, they didn't have anyone that was just protecting the rim like that. And so, I think that was the shot that got him going right there.
And this is a great point right here. Oh, he's going to try to join us from the street.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm walking because I have to get on a car and get on a plane. But I'll just hopefully I won't be able to send videos, but celebratory mood in the locker room. It was very, very businesslike. Jawan Roberts Jamal said there was no screaming at halftime. They knew that they weren't cutting it, and really they just came out with a mindset to get one stop. And that's exactly what they did coming out in the second half. And I'm running out of breath because I'm talking while I walk, but incredible. To outscore Auburn 50-23 in the second half, that just shows the heart of his team. It was tested, and Tremont Mark, we talked about it last Let's Reach Coogs. He showed up big time, and that's my report because I have to get on the car. See you guys. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Andy. Take care, man. Safe travels. Man, technology is great, man. I mean, they have a lot to just join the show before he walks to the car. Technology is a beautiful thing, man. And real quick on that break, got to thank our sponsors again. Hoop and Holler. Thank you to Hoop and Holler, the Houston Micro Collective. Hoop and Holler is the entity behind the Star Pizza commercials, such as with Ryan Elvin, DeAnthony Jones, and have also done an NIL deal with Layla Blair. Star Pizza, with 3 different locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to stop for pizza. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, where you can check out the online menu and order online to just stop and pick up your order. Star Pizza, Houston's best pizza since 1976. And BB's Tex Orleans is a Cajun New Orleans themed restaurant with a unique Texas twist. Featuring selections inspired by Cajun food, BB's cuisine is what they like to call Tex Orleans. Visit them online at bbstexorleans.com. And of course, I'd like to thank our main sponsor. Let's Rage Coogs is presented by the Saxenian Family. And they got one more game at least to be sponsor of us as we follow the Cougs throughout this tournament. 2 down, hopefully 4 more to go. You guys want to spend just a couple moments on the other 2 number 1 seeds that lost? Any thoughts on Purdue first, Dan? What you got?
Purdue. Let's go Kansas first because I predicted that Kansas would be upset alert today, and one reason I figured that is because I liked the matchup with Arkansas's guards. I figured Arkansas's guards would be able to get inside and be able to have some effectiveness against Kansas. But Kansas, I think they were hobbled, of course, by not having their Hall of Fame coach, but their point guard Harris, I think his ankle injury really limited them. He really does a great job in getting them in their offensive sets. But I just like Arkansas's toughness, their ability to rebound. I think they were just a little bit more athletic than Kansas, and they got a tough W today. So that was one of the number 1 seeds I was not surprised about. But Purdue, oh man,
Purdue got exposed straight up.
Yeah,
and they had a 5-out offense. And what did you want to say something, Chris?
No, I mean, exposed in a sense. We weren't surprised,
right?
Because their big man Zach Edey is their offense. Their guards are inexperienced. If they're not playing well, not shooting well, they're gonna struggle. So we're not. Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised. Go ahead, Aqib.
No, I was gonna say I mean, the guard play hasn't been great from them all season. They just pound the ball with Zach Edey offensively and hope there's double and triple teams. But credit to Fairleigh Dickinson, right?
Yep.
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that school existed. I'll be honest.
Me either.
Yesterday, and that's the great thing about March is like you find so every year there's teams like that, and it's great for those teams. Great because their school gets shine, and they get more enrollment, and they get more publicity, which is good. But I thought I didn't think they would lose to a 16 seed. I don't think anyone picked them to beat Purdue. I think after that game, all the brackets were just eliminated. But it was, like I said, I think it was just getting exposed, and they just stopped going to Edie at the end because there's just too much pressure.
They couldn't guard the ball. They couldn't keep those fast, quick, more athletic guards outside the paint.
And then defensively, Purdue they couldn't guard that 5-out offense. It was like an NBA style offense, and their bigs, even though I think maybe hardly 30% 3-point shooter, they were cashing in on some of the shots, big shots. And then Kansas, I didn't get to catch the game today, but I was told that Kansas was underseeded as a 1 seed, being under Houston. So that's what I was told.
Oh, one of those guys was a national guy. Seth Davis. I'm calling names. Yeah, Seth Davis. Because Sunday, we were with the team in the waiting area when they announced the seeding, and when they announced Houston was number 1 in Kansas City, Mr. Davis said something along the lines of, "Houston, I love you, I respect you, but I think Kansas should be number 1 in Kansas City." And the Cougs players are like, "All right, yeah, whatever, Seth. Well, KU's done, and the Cougs will be playing in Kansas City." So,
go ahead,
Aqib.
Kris, this is what happens every year. We have these national pundits saying the same thing over and over. Oh, well, they don't play in a elite conference, this and that, and then Houston still makes a deep run. Same thing again. Seth Davis is the number 1 Houston hater. He's been for the last 6 years that we have been, in the tournament, minus the COVID year. He has been saying how much, this team. He's always, when it comes to, he's an AP poll voter. He's always voting, a lot lower than on average. So he's a number 1 hater, and I love it. I just love how Houston proves the doubters wrong.
What do y'all think about Hunter's comment right here? If you each play second half basketball like that for the rest of this season, why can't we be champions?
100%.
I think we definitely can, because defense travels no matter what gym, what state, what city, where you are. Defense travels, and they can play with that defense, that level of intensity on the defense. They'll find ways to manufacture offense. We see the plethora of players that they have to do so, whether it's Jarris, who needs more touches, or Jamal, or Marcus, or Tremont, or even Emmanuel off the bench. And so you never know. You can pick your poison, and this team is so unselfish, and Coach Sampson has his fingerprint on the pulse of the team and the players and the game, and he knows when to get players touches and when to keep riding players. And so, I mean, you got to give credit to his ability to motivate the players, because I'm sure he had some motivational things to say at the halftime. And I saw they put the camera on him during the game. I don't know if you guys caught it early in that second half. He was like, "Hey, we're okay." And so I don't feel like he ever felt like the game was getting out of hand, or Auburn was doing something that they couldn't defend. And so, man, they definitely can make it all the way, man, for sure.
And let me flip it around a little bit. What is the reason? What do you guys think is the reason why the last few first halves, they haven't played Cougar basketball?
Go ahead, Aqib.
I honestly don't know. I think it definitely, of course, their defense. It's just the intensity of the offensive rebounding. That's like the last 8 years that Kelvin Sampson has been a coach for this Houston team. Even the national media will say this blatantly, like that they're the best offensive rebound team in the country, whether they were number 1 or 2 or whatever they were this season. Like, as a team, not even just statistically, and then just the way they attack the glass, they're the best offensive rebounding team. And if they do that, it's just night and day the way they play. That's their identity. Sampson has said this time and time again that we're not a team that's gonna make buckets on the first shot. It's gonna come down to our offensive rebound team. And I just want to say this: this second half was no fluke. all the different metrics have Houston as a number one team. Houston is the favorite to win the national championship when it comes to odds and betting odds. And then when you look at KenPom, when you look at the net rankings, when you look at AP pool, I know we were bumped down twice just because of that loss, but I think had Sasser been healthy and played in that Memphis game, we probably would have won. But we could have finished off the season as number one in the AP poll. So this is no fluke, and it's time for national media and then the haters to realize that this is a nationally relevant program. This is a we could say red blood now. It's a red blood team. It's obviously not blue blood, but it's
blue collar, baby.
Blue collar. We call it blue collar. I like that too.
How about what Chuck says right here? UH plays a long game with opponents and grinds them all 40 minutes. Do I agree with that?
Yeah, I think that has a part to do with some of what we perceive as slow starts, because of sometimes offensive are just doing a good job of moving the ball and doing a good job of penetrating and executing against that defense. And like to Chuck's point, the defense and the pressure stays high and they stay with that level of intensity throughout the game. It wears them down because it forces you, and it's hard to continue to execute with someone and steadily pressuring like that. So I think that definitely has a lot to do with it. And I think it really just broke them down, and they didn't have the capabilities, because you got to have someone who can beat someone off the dribble consistently against Houston. And we've seen teams that have been able to do that, but that's what you have to do. Or you must be able to move the ball without the basketball and cut, because Houston's going to help. They're going to rotate, and they're going to force you to make the extra pass and force you to make tough contested shots. And so I think, to Chuck's point, that has a lot to do with it. But sometimes it is Houston just not playing with the level of intensity to start the game as they do throughout the full game.
And I think this team is different in a sense. They have probably more guys who can score, and at some points they kind of lean on it a little bit. And when their shots aren't going, it hurts their defense. But when they get back to Cougar basketball and just focus on defense, then they get the stops and get easier buckets, and then their offense gets easier. What do you think about that?
Yes, sometimes, oftentimes their defense turns into offense. And so I think they get energy off their defense when they're able to get the stops and get those rebounds. So sometimes it's a block. And when they do that, they get the stops. Coach Sampson's not yelling. And at the same time, like you said, they're able to create offense, get out in transition, and not have to go against a set defense. I think we can't underestimate how hard it is to execute against a full set defense, time in and time out. You got to have players like Marcus Sasser put on display on how you can get a pick and roll and you switch and he can beat your man one-on-one. He did that time after time again early in the second half when Houston needed buckets, and you need players to do that, and that's the difference. The tournament is a guards game, and just like the NBA often too, but in the tournament you got to have guards that can get busy and get buckets in opportune times, and we got three best starting three guard lineup in the country, and we ready for anybody.
Aqib, Aqib, how about this comment? Another comment from Hunter, you and Dayon. Got to give a lot of credit to the bench for playing tough defense. What do you think about that?
Arsenal, he gave a couple of minutes. Emmanuel Sharp, they trust him. I think Emmanuel Sharp, he's more in there because what he can do offensively. But he had a couple of fouls, but I thought some of these fouls were just, I don't even want to. I want to try to stay as positive as possible because some of those fouls made no sense to me. I know they kind of started making up for it and giving Houston some calls, but just to I don't want to harp on the negative too much. But first half it just seemed to me like even we were up, I believe 27-24 or 27-25, something like that. And even then, I did not feel like we were playing Cougar basketball whatsoever. Right. And it just seemed like, okay, they were hitting some shots. We were hitting some shots. It was a lot of trading shots going on. And what really, of course, the defense wasn't there. But then offensively, it just we're waiting till 10, 7, 8 seconds left. And then the ball's in Shed's hand. I'm not I know Shed. He has hit some, in his career. He's hit some big shots. He hit the buzzer beater against Memphis, but even right now, I'm not a fan of Shed having the ball with a couple of seconds left. I know he can make some plays, but you got guys like Sasser. You have guys like Tremont Mark who can also create. It doesn't need to be they just pitch it to Shed up top. And I think they really changed that in the second half. It was just there's a lot of off ball movement, a lot of screens, down screens, they're setting a lot of things like differently from what I saw in the first half. It was very stagnant, the offense.
I think Jamal was. I think he's probably more injured or sore than Marcus.
Could be, yeah.
Jamal seemed to be more bothered about his injury than Marcus was. Really, I agree with you to the point. I don't like the Cougs offense when it gets slow and methodical and they take too long in the shot clock and end up with almost like a grenade. You pass to your teammate with 3 seconds left and say, do something. I don't like that. I'm more with Dayon and play faster, getting quicker shots early in the shot clock. And then if you miss, go get it. Don't wait for 5, 4, 3, because those, it seems like you have a lower percentage of scoring if you wait to those final seconds in the shot clock.
Yeah, back to this point real quick. I think we do have to give a lot of credits to the people off the bench, because when they went out, they were able to maintain the defensive intensity to keep Auburn on the drought that they were on. It was no drop off nowhere with Emmanuel or Terrence. When they were on the floor, they kept the Cougar defense, the culture defense going. So much credit to them because they were able to do so. And Emmanuel made a couple shots. He made a couple buckets, got to the free throw line, made a couple free throws. And so they were both effective and had impacts on the game. And so definitely shout out to him. But Tremont, man, I'm so happy for him to have this breakout game, especially coming off the game that he had last game, in which he didn't have his best game. And I'm sure he realized and challenged himself like, man, I got to step up. I know what I need to do. And then how the game turned out, he had his big game, and then Marcus and Jamal getting in foul trouble. And now we really, really need you. And you come through and you produce. I mean, his confidence, I'm sure, is always high, but it has to be through the roof for him to not only take what he did today and not settle for threes, but take that aspect of it and getting inside the paint, getting to his spots, getting to the free throw line, because he can do that on a nightly basis and take 10 to 12 shots and get some of his most effective shots and efficient shots.
Emmanuel 4 rebounds in like 13 minutes, so that's a great number for him. I'm gonna say this: I think the only kind of three I would like to see Tremont take is corner threes. The further he gets away from the basket, get it, put on the floor, penetrate into the defense, get into the mid-range game, go to the hoop, corner threes, because it's the shortest three-pointer. Other than that, he's not there yet consistently from three-point range on the further he gets from the bucket. But 8 for 9 from the free throw line for Tremont Mark. Cougs made a lot of their free throws, unlike Auburn. It was just a great win. Marcus Sasser did his part when he wasn't on the bench in foul trouble. Jarris Walker swatting things left and right. Roberts did that as well. It was an overall great team win. Tell me this, guys. Before the game, how many people outside of Houston did you pick Auburn to win today?
A lot of people.
A lot.
Name some names. Name some names. Come on.
I mean, go ahead.
I mean, if you look at, I'm in a couple of bracket challenges, and a lot of people had Auburn upsetting Houston in a lot of these brackets that I'm seeing. And to me, I'm thinking it's like they didn't do any research. Like, you can have Auburn beating Houston, that's fine, but like the abnormal amount of people picking Auburn, and like this was in every show, every post-game, pre-game show, they mention the same thing. They're tooting the same horn. They're saying, "Oh, Auburn in Birmingham, Auburn in Birmingham," like as if Houston, they didn't lose a single game on the road this season. So the whole home road stuff with Houston, they don't play to the home if they're a home team or a road team. They just play how they play all season long. And like I said before, like if you look statistically, I really like Ken Pom. To me, is one of the best at predicting, the metrics of how good a team is, and they all season long it showed Houston is the number 1 team.
Is this because I'm kind of surprised if Hunter? I'm not saying you're wrong, but Chuck picked the Cougs beat Auburn today. Did he really? If he did,
I didn't see it.
I didn't catch his prediction, but if he did, he's a smart man and just
good for him. Yeah,
going with his heart. I mean, going with his mind instead of his heart, because I mean, Houston is a better team, and a lot of things too, in which I don't really pay attention because they haven't seen the Houston and been watching Houston to the extent that we have. They don't know that Tremont has the ability to what he displayed tonight. Well, I mean, we actually knew that. And it was just a matter of time, but before it showcased itself because we've seen it before. And so I think people were stuck with just the top names, the big names that you hear the most of. Or Marcus Sasser's kind of injured. How would he look? Houston might not play. And so it was a lot of doubt around people who really don't know Houston to the extent that we have. So I really don't really pay attention to that. And so, but man, it was good to see Marcus play a full game. I didn't really know what to expect coming from last game and how he ended up playing X amount of minutes. But then I listened to what Coach Sampson said after the game, the clips that Andy posted with the trainer. And so I felt like he was going to be able to play the full game based off of that, but I just didn't know what to expect. And then when I seen him, I mean, a couple of times on defense, he didn't look like his normal self. Mm-hmm. But then once he settled in the game and I think got into a rhythm, he looked like he might be able to play the rest of the throughout the tournament. I think he said he's about 60%. If that's 60%, and he could have went for 30 tonight or today if he didn't get in foul trouble, I'll take it.
Yeah. Oftentimes with the groin, sorry, Chris, quick. Oftentimes, like with the groin injury, you can do more things offensively. It's on the defensive end where you got to have lateral movement where, it still shows up, obviously, like even early in the game, late in the game, he clearly, like those fouls, they're happening for a reason. He's hacking because he's getting beaten. But like, I'll take a 60% Marcus Sasser, just because of what he can do offensively. And he started the last game similarly to how he started this game. I know he had hit an extra 3, this game as opposed to last game. But the second half is, man, we really needed his shot making just to get things going before Tremont Martin, took the reins.
And you posted it that Jay Phillips picked Auburn, and I mean, I'm okay with it. You haven't seen the Cougs play. You don't know what you don't know, like Coach Sampson says a lot often.
Right.
So we've seen Tremont Mark. We know what he's capable of doing, and he did it. He was aggressive. We touched on it after Thursday's Let's Rage Cougs. We wanted to see Tremont be more aggressive. We wanted him to get to the foul line. He did those things today. Tremont Mark, I mean, the team has to play well, okay, to win a championship. Everybody. But if Tremont Mark performs like this the rest of the tournament, the Cougs have a great chance to win the national championship. Yeah. So
I just need half of this because I think to expect a career high.
Not career high. No.
It's a lot to ask for. No, but I get the gist of what you're saying. I'm just kind of speaking to other people who might be like, dang, we need him because they might be like, well, he didn't score 20, so whatever. And so no, we need, like, man, in production point wise half of this consistently throughout the tournament, and whatever we get outside of that is a bonus. But the decision making, the way he played, the aggressiveness, we need that version of Tremont Mark from the rest of the tournament, the rest of his Cougar career.
Yes, agreed. And Juan Roberts had good looks. Shots just rolled.
And they just didn't fall. Yeah. He had a lot of good looks. A lot of his spots and everything, his power hand and everything. They just didn't fall.
Same with Jairus too.
Yeah, both of them.
Yeah,
had good looks. Shots didn't fall, and the Cougs still won by 17 points. So we'll take it. This finals, we wind down this edition of Let's Rage Cougs. One more time, I want to thank our sponsors. First up, Hoop and Holler. Thank you to Hoop and Holler, the Houston Micro Collective. Hoop and Holler is the entity behind the Star Pizza commercials, such as with Ryan Elvin, DeAnthony Jones, and they have also done an NIL deal with Houston women's hoop player Layla Blair. Star Pizza, with 3 different locations across the Houston area. Star Pizza is your go-to shop for pizza. Be sure to visit them online at starpizza.net, where you can check out the online menu and order online to just stop and pick up. Star Pizza, Houston's best pizza since 1976. And BB's. Tex Orleans is a Cajun, New Orleans-themed restaurant with a unique Texas twist. Featuring selections inspired by Cajun food, BB's cuisine is what they like to call Tex Orleans. Visit them online at bbstexorleans.com. And of course, Let's Rage Coogs is presented by the Saxenian Family, our main title sponsor of Let's Rage Coogs throughout this Cougs run to, we hope, the national championship. But let me see. Fouls total is like 47. I want to say 47 fouls. Yeah, 47. 30 of them called second half. 17 on the Cougs. A lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them for sure. A lot of them were legit. Some of them are like, come on, ref. Really? I think two of Juwan's were like, come on, that's not a foul. Yeah. So the refs got involved a little bit too much in second half for my taste. What do you think about that?
No, definitely. I mean, the only thing that I could say and what you asked for in regards to referees is be consistent. Call the same thing on both ends. And to their credit, they did that. And so, I mean, I agree. It messes up the flow of the game. It makes it an ugly game. And even Jamal's foul when he reached in, but he didn't touch him.
Right.
And so, I mean, it was a lot of, I don't know, what you predetermined calls. I guess they looking at it and I don't know, but I to their credit, they were consistent.
Aren't supposed to do.
Right. They aren't supposed to do that. So, I mean, all you can ask for is to be consistent. But to Houston, they made their free throws in the second half. First half, they didn't make their free throws down by 10 at the half. Second half, you make your free throws and they continue to call us. And Auburn missed their free throws. We get the win. And so, I mean, there's lessons to be learned in that. We can't foul as much. We got to adapt to how the game is being called. And at the same time, if we go to the foul line and we got to capitalize, we got to make our free throws.
Okay, what do you say about that?
Yeah, I thought the second half, I'm curious to know where this officiating crew, what their experiences in terms of like which conference.
What conference?
Yeah, because that makes a big difference. Because I know the Big 12, they call more fouls compared to like the American, for example. And I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong about that, but we just have to adapt. And I think Cougars did like an excellent job adapting. It's helpful when your head coach is Kelvin Sampson and he's giving the refs, an earful. And then I'm sure the refs got word, for example, the goaltending that they missed. So and then they're constantly being told by the head refs like, okay, they know the calls that they miss after the fact. So I'm sure they started making up some calls. Obviously that's not how you're supposed to ref a game, but things got ticky-tacky. But it just comes down to especially with this team, if we hit our free throws, it's very, very hard to lose with this Cougar team. Like they literally, the Alabama game, I believe, were we missing free throws kind of late. I know it was the defense obviously giving up shots, but then
and Tremont Mark fouling out.
And Tremont Mark, he had fouled out. So it's just, and then it was just the first half was a combination of things. I know, Dayon, you touched on the free throw shooting. It was everything. It was the defense. It was the offense. It was the free throw shooting. I don't know how we even shot from the 3-point line in the first half. It was like 3 for 12 or something like that. So it was just and then we were still only down 10 even after all that. So
you could tell Jamal wasn't his normal self. I mean, because if I'm not mistaken, the first half he didn't take any shots.
Right.
And in the second half, I mean, like I mentioned, he realized it. He picked and chose when he took shots, but he isn't his normal explosive self going to the rim, because for his size and his stature, he's still explosive and has the ability to get to the rim and finish through contact and elevate and finish over defenders. And so that explosion, you can tell it isn't the same. I wonder what percentage would he say he is, because I think you could tell early on. But then once that adrenaline kicks in and they get to going, they just turn it to different.
Also, there's this comment from Nicholas Jones that you could probably pull it. It says Auburn miss some of their free throws. But hey, free throws are part of the game. Like
a lot of their free throws.
And it's 17.
Yeah. And yeah, could the game been different? Of course it could have been, but free throws are part of the game. And that's the one thing I like about Kelvin Sampson is like he will blame free throw shooting. A lot of head coaches will say, "Oh, okay, well, we played a great game, but we missed free." But if Houston has a bad night from the free throw line, he'll highlight that and he'll say, "Hey, we literally, it could have been, that was the difference in the game." And I actually like that because free throws are meant to be free buckets for a reason. So if you're at least as a team shooting 75%, that can get you wins. The extra 5%.
Broome missed 10 free throws. He missed 10 of their 17 free throws himself.
And he's like a 60%, free throw shooter. So
yep. And there was a point in the second half where you could tell he didn't want to be at the line. He was like, "Oh, how am I going to miss these?" That's where his expression was. So at a point, I was like, "Well, maybe this just the Coogs philosophy. Foul him, send him to the line so he can miss." I mean, because it worked.
It wasn't just him; it was contagious. That whole team. I think that we had the bad foul that Emmanuel Sharp had, which I didn't really see it, but it was was it on the hand?
3-point shot. Yeah.
3-point shot. Was it on the hand or I'm not too sure, but he missed the first free throw.
Yeah, he walked under KD Johnson, didn't let him come down.
And I think KD Johnson, I checked, he's like a 75% free throw shooter. So it kind of averages out. But still, like the whole team started missing free throws and it just got to their head from there.
And who will the Cougs play in the regional semifinal? Who's up on the schedule for them?
It's the winner out of Miami and who does Miami play? It's whoever Miami plays. I'm looking at the bracket right now. Okay. Miami and Indiana. Whoever wins out of Miami, Indiana.
Yeah.
And they play tomorrow, right?
They play tomorrow.
Right?
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so go ahead.
No, just if we're looking forward to that matchup, I think if Miami has a better collection of guards, with Nigel Pack, the ACC Player of the Year, won, and I think they'll be a tougher matchup. Indiana has Jackson, who is probably going to be a lottery pick, but I like the way that we defend the post. And they got young guards, a couple of freshman guards who got some talent. So I think Miami will be the tougher matchup, but both of those are really good, high quality teams.
Agreed. And it's all about matchups, okay? It's the next game is the next game, and we're not going to go beyond getting to Houston and going beyond this coming opponent. The next game is the one that counts, and the Cougs can use these next few days to rehab, get some rest, because I'm pretty sure they're flying back tonight, have an off day, get treatment on Sunday, go over film and all that kind of stuff, and then start preparing for the next opponent. But Aqib, one more as we wind it down on this edition of Let's Rage Cougs. And one more time, if folks are wondering, where is Andy? Andy probably is in Max plane coming back to Houston by now. So I think he caught the with the car, because it sure wasn't a cab, caught the car ride to the airport, and they're going to fly back on Max plane. So that's where Andy is. If you wonder where he is, why you don't see him, except for that little, what was it, like a 2-minute blip of him walking, I guess the airport. He's walking to the car at the airport.
Yeah, Andy got car service, man. He had car service to the private jet. They got to hop on a private jet, and then they almost back in the city.
Hey,
you know what I'm saying?
They got
like license plates.
Yep.
They got Mac got a couple of money bags on that plane from however much he bet today. I don't even know. Yeah.
So no question. But just your thoughts overall, Aqib, as you wind down these last few minutes of Let's Rage Cougs. Your thoughts on today's win, and then if you want to look ahead to Friday's game for Houston.
No, it was a great win, and they just this game, this second half just gave me even more confidence. I picked them to win the national championship, and like this just showed why they should be a favorite to win the national championship. And I'm just glad that Cougs have a long break. Their break is gonna be longer than either if they play Miami or who was it and Indiana. So their break is gonna be 2 days longer because Indiana and Miami play tomorrow, and we're gonna play Friday. So it's it's still important. That 1 seed, locking up that 1 seed was very important for Houston because it gives you extra days of break, gives you more, it could be more favorable matchups. So, and also we need this break. And if we can get a healthy Sasser, healthy Jamal Shed, the sky's the limit.
Dan, how about you, man? What are your thoughts on today's win?
Very impressive, man. I loved how we turned it on, made adjustments in the second half, and came out, played true to the identity. And I love how Marcus, for sure, stepped up, was a big time, looked like a first-team All-American, and then Tremont as well, showing the world, putting the world on notice that Houston has another guard in their staple that can take over games and I think has the ability to be an All-American as well. And so now the team gets rest. I think rest up, get healthy as possible, regroup, and pay attention to whoever we're going to play in the next round. And so I'm happy for the team, happy for Coach Sampson. Congrats to all of them. Shouts out to all the fans that travel because y'all definitely, I'm sure, made an impact in the stadium. Like Aqib said on my TV in that second half, I heard you guys loud and proud. And so if you're tuning in, watching us, thank you. And thank you for supporting Coug fans as well as us because we do this because we support Houston as well.
And I'm going to say this, Andy mentioned this to me, that the players told him they watched this show. So they watched the rebroadcast. So Cougar players watch Let's Rage Cougs. So we appreciate their support and them watching the show. So the audience is growing. And we thank you very much for that. We thank the fans for this 1 year and what a week that Let's Rage Cougs has been around. And we will do this as long as we can. So thank you very much. I saw the comment. What is it? Tremont Mark with T-March? Dayon? T-March?
T-March, baby.
T-March and then Tremont March. Great game from him. Aggressive. Tremont is a better, more impact player for the Cougs in this tournament. Great team win for the Cougs today. I'm going to toss it back around. Aqib, you first. How can folks find you, follow you on social media?
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter and then on Instagram at Aqib Gazi MMA.
One more time. Do it again.
Yeah, y'all can find me on Twitter and then on Instagram at Aqib Gazi MMA. I try to cover the Cougs as much as possible and then also cover MMA and the UFC.
Dayon?
Find me on all social media platforms. Dayon Dunlap, like it's listed below. Check me out, man, and let's keep dancing. So survive and advance, and we still dancing. So let's keep it going. Let's make it all the way back to H-Town. Let's manifest it. But first, let's take care of business in Kansas City, in Missouri, and guess whoever our next opponent is.
And then for me, I'm Kris Gardner of the Houston Round Bar Review, HoustonRoundBarReview.com, Houston Round Bar Review on YouTube and on Instagram. We thank everybody. We had new names joining us on this edition of Let's Rage Cougs and YouTube. Thank you very much. Don't be a stranger. Tell your friends about the show. Our next show for Let's Rage Cougs will be Friday from Kansas City. Dayon, I got to ask you, man. Let me see if I can put it back up here. How do I do this? Let's go smaller. There we go. Will you be joining us in Kansas City, man?
Yes, all plans. I get approved for credential. I will be in the building for sure.
Excellent. So we look forward to that. So once again, thank you to the Saxenian family for being our primary sponsor, and also to Hoop and Holler, Star Pizza, and BB's. And Yanez, thank you for trusting us to man the show while you are returning to H-Town on the private jet. And we will see everybody Friday. Dayon, you know what you do, my man, as you close it out.
Let's raise Cougs. Let's go, Cougs.
Thank you, everybody. Y'all take care.